Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about how we can find perimeter and area of composite shapes or composite figures. So what does this word mean, composite? Basically it just means we're putting two shapes together. So these shapes could be triangles, squares, rectangles, semicircles, or really any other two-dimensional figure, okay? So let's take a look at example 1. We have a shape here, it's a composite shape. What we like to do for perimeter and area, if we're trying to find that of a composite shape, let's break it apart into two shapes that we know how to find the perimeter and area of. So for example, let's draw, what if we drew a vertical line right here so that we separated this shape into a rectangle, which is here, and a triangle, which is there. All right, so let's start with perimeter. Okay, so perimeter, we just need to add up all the sides, right? So even with our perimeter here, we probably could do this, or we really can do this without having to separate it. We're just going to count the units. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know this section up here is 5 units. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here on the side. All the way across our bottom would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this vertical portion to the right would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now with perimeter, when we have diagonal distances, since in pre-algebra we really haven't learned how to find that yet, we haven't learned like a distance formula or Pythagorean theorem or anything like that, your teacher might go ahead and tell you a decimal approximation for one of these diagonal segments. Okay. So the actual distance of that is the square root of 2. All right, so we can find that by doing the Pythagorean theorem or the distance formula, which you'll learn later on. But your teacher might just go ahead and give you a decimal approximation as 1.5. However, 1.4 is actually a little bit more accurate. So let's use 1.4 in our video today. Now the adding and subtracting all of that would be a little bit harder, but we can use our calculator to help us out with that. Okay, so let's say this is 1.4, 1.4, 1.4, and 1.4. So we have 4 of those, right? So 1.4 times 4. So let's say this is 5.6, that diagonal distance there, okay? So we have 5 plus 8 plus 9 plus 5.6 plus 4, okay? So let's just add that in our calculator. So 5.6, here we have, what if we did 5 and 4 together would be 9, and then we have another 9 here. So that would be plus 18. And then what did we have left? This 8 right here, so plus 8. So our total perimeter would be 31.6, and we'll just say units here because we weren't given a measurement or anything like that, okay? All right, now let's go with area. Okay, so now area, we do want to separate this shape into two shapes here, okay? So let me take off these little circles here and our measurements for some of these areas. That way we can look a little bit clearer. Okay, now for area, we're just going to find the area of the two shapes and we're going to add them together, right? So if we look at this shape right here, this is a rectangle where the length is 8 and the width is 5, so area equals length times width. That would be 5 times 8, which would just be 40, right? Pretty simple. So now we have this triangle right here, and we know that area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to go ahead and write 40 here for my square. Now here this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our area is going to be 4 times 4. That's our base times our height, which would be 16. And then half of that, so this would be 8. Okay, so we can add 8 there. So we get a total area of 48 square units. Okay, so that's how we could find perimeter and area for example number 1's composite shape. Let's do another example where we have a semicircle. Okay, so here's example 2, and we're going to find once again the perimeter and our area. All right, so perimeter we have talked about, or we made separate videos on how do we find the perimeter of a semicircle and also the area of a semicircle. So remember, perimeter of a semicircle, we're going to do pi times diameter divided by 2. And for area, we would do pi r squared divided by 2. So we'll just kind of leave those formulas there just as a point of reference as we begin solving example 2. Okay, so let's go with perimeter. We're pretty much given every measurement except for those semicircles. So we have 6, 6, 6 feet, 6 feet. This would also be 6 feet. and once again 6 feet there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So 6 times 6 would be 36. So we can add that as part of our perimeter. And now we just need to find our circular half circle, semicircle distances here. Okay? All right. So if our entire shape down here says 24 feet in length, and we have 6 feet here and 6 feet here, then this distance here remaining would be 12 feet, right? Okay. So for our perimeter, we're going to do pi times diameter divided by 2. So the diameter is 12 feet. So this would be 12 pi divided by 2, which would be equal to 6 pi. Okay, now this semicircle down here is also going to have the same measurement. So basically we have 2 of those, right? And that would be our perimeter. Okay, so 6 pi times 2, well, we just did 12 pi divided by 2, so that's just going to get us back to 12 pi. So that would be our answer in terms of pi, but let's round that to the nearest tenth. So 12 pi is 37.7, and let's add 36 to that. So this would be 73.7 feet for our perimeter. Okay. All right, now for our area. Okay, for area, we have this rectangle right here, and we have 2 semicircles here. Okay, so let's focus on the rectangle first. Well, a rectangle we see is 24 feet in length and 6 feet in width. So if we do 24 times 6, that's going to give us 144. And now we just need to find the area of our 2 semicircles. Well, once again, we know that the measurements of those 2 semicircles are going to be the same. So basically, it's like finding the measurement of 2 semicircles. So it's like finding the area of a circle, right? Okay, so pi, and then our radius. So if our diameter was 12, we know the radius would be 6. So this would be 6 squared, and then divide by 2 to find one of our semicircles. So this is 36 pi over 2, which would be equal to 18 pi. But like we said, we have 2 of those half circles, or 2 of those semicircles. So that's essentially going to get us back to 36 pi. So we could do that in our calculator if we want to round to the nearest tenth, which is 113.1. And let's add 144 to that to get a total area of our composite shape of 257.1 square feet. Okay, and that's how you can find the perimeter and the area of composite figures.